The massive view screen in the United Earth Council chamber flickered to life, casting an eerie blue glow across the faces of Earth's leaders. Min Park's stomach tightened as he watched the alien ships descend through Earth's atmosphere, their sleek hulls gleaming like polished obsidian against the morning sky. They came without warning. One moment, the world's defense systems had detected nothing unusual. The next, over 50 vessels of varying sizes had appeared just beyond the moon's orbit. Their arrival sent waves of panic through every major city, but the aliens had made no hostile moves. Instead, they had simply requested an audience with Earth's leaders. Admiral Hae-Yum Lee stood beside Min, her weathered face betraying none of the anxiety that surely matched his own. As Earth's highest-ranking military officer, she had spent decades preparing for first contact. But all their simulations, all their preparations, seemed woefully inadequate in the face of reality. "Their technology is beyond anything we've ever seen," she whispered, eyes fixed on the tactical display showing the alien fleet's formation. "Those ships could probably reduce our cities to ash before we could even launch a response." The chamber doors slid open with a soft hiss. The alien delegation entered, led by what appeared to be their ambassador. The beam stood nearly 8 feet tall, its body wrapped in flowing robes that seemed to shift colors with each movement. But it was their eyes that caught everyone's attention, multifaceted like a dragonfly's, reflecting the room's light in countless tiny mirrors. "Greetings, children of Earth," the ambassador's words came through their universal translator with perfect clarity. "I am Sovereign Speaker First Class, representative of the Galactic Empire. We have come to offer you a great honor." Min felt a chill run down his spine. There was something in the alien's tone, a hint of condescension perhaps, that made his diplomatic instincts flare with warning. The ambassador continued, gesturing with long, elegant fingers. "For millennia, the Empire has brought peace, prosperity, and advancement to countless worlds. We have lifted primitive species from their planetary cradles and given them the stars. Today, we extend this same generous offer to Earth." Holographic displays materialized around the chamber, showing images of gorgeous alien cities, advanced spacecraft, and peaceful scenes from various worlds. "Join us," the ambassador said, "and we will guide your species to greatness. Your technologies will be upgraded, your diseases cured, your lifespans extended. All we ask is your complete submission to imperial authority." The chamber erupted in murmurs. Some of Earth's representatives leaned forward, clearly enticed by the promises. Others sat back, faces dark with suspicion. Admiral Lee's hand brushed against her tablet, and a new set of images appeared alongside the ambassador's presentation. These showed different scenes: worlds stripped of resources, native populations relegated to second-class status in their own systems, military installations enforcing imperial will. "And if we decline?" Min asked, his voice carrying across the sudden silence. The ambassador's head tilted slightly. "Decline? Why would you decline advancement? Why would you choose to remain primitive? You mistake technological advancement for civilization," Min replied, standing straighter. "Humanity has learned through bitter experience that true progress cannot be handed down from above. It must be earned through struggle, through learning from our mistakes, through finding our own path." The ambassador's robes shifted to darker hues. "You do not understand your position. The Empire does not make this offer lightly. To refuse would be unwise." "No," Min said firmly, feeling the weight of humanity's future in his words. "We understand perfectly. You offer us a cage, no matter how gilded. We cannot accept these terms." The temperature in the room seemed to drop several degrees. The ambassador's multifaceted eyes glittered dangerously. "You speak for your entire species in this matter." Min looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of each representative. One by one, they nodded. Even those who had seemed tempted earlier now sat straight-backed, united in the face of the thinly veiled threat. "We do." Admiral Lee stepped forward. "Earth chooses to remain free. The ambassador's form seemed to grow larger, looming over them. Freedom is an illusion that primitive species cling to. The galaxy operates on order, on hierarchy, on strength. You will learn this lesson, one way or another. Within hours, the alien ships lifted from Earth's surface, their departure as sudden as their arrival. But they left behind more than just the memory of their visit. They left a promise written in the cold silence of their departure, in the dark spaces between stars where their fleet gathered. As Timon watched them go, Admiral Lee placed a hand on his shoulder. "You know they'll be back." "Yes," he replied, already thinking of the preparations they would need to make. "But they'll find that humanity isn't as primitive as they think. We've spent our entire history fighting against those who would dominate us. We've defeated empires before." The Admiral smiled grimly. "Well then, we better get to work. We've got a planet to defend." As night fell over the council chamber, emergency meetings were already being called, defense plans drawn up, and a new age of human unity was beginning. The Empire had meant to intimidate Earth into submission. Instead, they had given humanity something it had always needed, a common cause to rally behind. The stars above no longer seemed like a frontier of possibility, but a warning of what was to come, and Earth would be ready. Deep beneath Mount Fuji, in a laboratory carved from ancient volcanic rock, Dr. Ji-Woo Kim hadn't slept in nearly 48 hours. Her eyes burned as she stared at the holographic display, watching the replay of the Imperial ship's departure for the 1,000th time. The energy readings they'd left behind held secrets. She was sure of it. "You should rest," her assistant said, placing a fresh cup of coffee beside her workstation. "You can't save Earth if you collapse." Ji-Woo shook her head, taking a long sip of the bitter liquid. "We don't have time for rest. The Empire will return, and when they do, they won't come with offers." The data scrolled endlessly across her screens. Radiation patterns, electromagnetic frequencies, gravitational distortions. Most scientists would see chaos in these readings, but Ji-Woo saw music. Each energy signature was like a note in a complex symphony, and after weeks of study, she was beginning to understand the melody. Across the world, others worked with the same desperate intensity. Colonel Sun Ho Kang directed the construction of orbital defense platforms, converting peaceful satellites into the first line of Earth's protection. In Seoul, engineer Du Yen Choi and her team reverse-engineered what little they could from the Imperial ship's energy emissions, developing new weapons that might stand a chance against advanced alien technology. "Look at this pattern," Ji-Woo muttered, enhancing a particular sequence. "Their shields operate on a frequency we never considered. It's not just about power, it's about harmony." She pulled up Earth's existing shield designs, comparing them to the Imperial readings. Where human engineers had tried to create impenetrable walls of energy, the aliens used something far more sophisticated. Their shields were dynamic, responsive, almost alive. Ji-Woo's hands flew across the controls, making adjustments. "What if we—" Yes, instead of blocking energy, we could make it flow around us, like water around a stone. The simulation ran, showing her modified shield design deflecting an energy blast with far less power consumption than traditional methods. She immediately sent the data to the Global Defense Initiative's Central Command. Within hours, Colonel Kang's voice came through her communication system. "Dr. Kim, your shield harmonics theory. Our engineers say it could work, but we'd need to modify every defense platform we've already built." "Then we modify them," Ji-Woo said firmly. "Better to delay now than fail later." The next months passed in a blur of activity. The world's resources were mobilized on a scale never seen before. Former enemies became allies, sharing technology and resources. Every nation contributed what they could to the Earth defense grid. Du Yen Choi's breakthroughs in weapons technology complemented Ji-Woo's shield designs perfectly. They found that by matching the frequency of their weapons to the shield harmonics, they could create devastating effects while using minimal energy. "The Empire thinks we're primitive," Du Yen said during one of their rare joint briefings. But we've done in months what took them centuries. Human creativity, when pushed to its limits, is our greatest weapon. Colonel Kang's defense platforms took shape in orbit, each one a marvel of human engineering enhanced by their understanding of Imperial technology. They were smaller than Imperial ships, but far more adaptable, able to shift their shield frequencies and weapon harmonics instantly. The day they tested the complete Earth defense grid, Ji-Woo stood in the main control room with her colleagues. 18 months of work, countless sleepless nights, and humanity's future all came down to this moment. Initiating planetary shield, she announced, her finger hovering over the activation control. All stations, report ready status. One by one, the stations around the world confirmed their readiness. Ji-Woo took a deep breath and pressed the button. At first, nothing seemed to happen. Then, high above, the sky began to shimmer. The shield formed like a soap bubble expanding around the entire planet, its surface rippling with iridescent patterns as it integrated with the atmosphere. Tears welled in Ji-Woo's eyes as she watched her creation come to life. The shield wasn't just a barrier, it was a symphony of energy, each component working in perfect harmony with the others. It was beautiful. Shield stability at 100%, her assistant reported. Power consumption at minimal levels. Dr. Kim, it works. The control room erupted in cheers, but Ji-Woo remained focused on her readings. The shield was performing even better than she'd hoped, adapting to natural energy fluctuations just as she'd designed it to do. Colonel Kang's voice came through the speakers. Commencing weapons test. One of the orbital platforms fired a concentrated energy burst at the shield. Instead of trying to block it, the shield caught the energy and redirected it harmlessly into space, exactly as Ji-Woo had envisioned. Earth has teeth now, Du Yin said, standing beside Ji-Woo, and a shell to match. Ji-Woo nodded, finally allowing herself a small smile. The Empire thinks they're coming to punish a primitive world. Instead, they'll find humanity at its finest, united, innovative, and ready. As she watched the shield shimmer overhead, Ji-Woo thought about how far they'd come. In just 18 months, humanity had advanced centuries. Not because some advanced empire had handed them technology, but because they'd faced a challenge and risen to meet it on their own terms. The Empire would return, yes, but Earth would be ready. And when they came, they would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in their weapons or shields, but in their unwavering determination to remain free. The first warning came from the long-range sensors at the edge of the solar system. Commander Jin Ah-song was reviewing defense protocols when the alert lit up her command console. The Imperial fleet had arrived, over 300 ships strong, their massive forms blotting out the stars as they approached Earth with unstoppable confidence. All stations, battle positions. Jin Ah's voice rang clear through orbital command. This is not a drill. I repeat, this is not a drill. The response was immediate. Around the world, defense platforms hummed to life. Dr. Kim's planetary shield shimmered into existence, its iridescent surface rippling like silk in the wind. Jin Ah's guerrilla squadrons, small, agile ships piloted by Earth's finest, moved into their hidden positions. They're not even trying to hide their approach, her tactical officer reported. They're broadcasting their presence on all frequencies. Jin Ah studied the enemy formation. The Imperial ships were beautiful in their arrogance, gleaming behemoths of metal and energy, each one large enough to house a small city. Their formation spoke of centuries of unopposed victories, of an empire that had forgotten what it meant to face real resistance. Let them come, Jin Ah said softly. Let them think we're easy prey. The Imperial commander's message boomed through every communication channel on Earth. Primitive world, you have had time to reconsider your foolish defiance. Surrender now, and we will be merciful. Resist, and we will reduce your civilization to ashes. Jin Ah leaned forward in her command chair. Return transmission. Message reads, come and try. The first Imperial barrage was meant to be devastating. a show of force to break Earth's spirit. Energy weapons capable of cracking planets lashed out of the shield. The command center trembled, but Dr. Kim's creation held. The attacks dispersed across the shield's surface, transformed from destructive power into harmless light shows. Shield holding at 98%, reported the defense coordinator. Energy consumption within expected parameters. Jin-Ah allowed herself a small smile. Launch Operation Mosquito. Her guerrilla squadrons burst from their hiding places, from behind debris fields, from low orbit positions, from the dark side of the moon. Earth ships were smaller than Imperial cruisers, but they were faster, more agile, and piloted by crews who had trained for this moment. Remember your training, Jin-Ah broadcasted to her pilots. Strike and fade. Don't give them a chance to lock on. Make every hit count. The Imperial fleet's formation began to break as Earth's ships darted between their massive vessels. The Empire's weapons were powerful, but slow to target such small, fast-moving objects. Jin-Ah's squadrons exploited every blind spot, every weakness in their defenses. Squadron 7, target their port shield generators, Jin-Ah commanded. Squadron 3, draw their fire to Sector 4. Squadron 10, hit them while they're distracted. The battle unfolded like a deadly dance. Imperial ships, unused to such tactics, struggled to coordinate their responses. Their formations, designed to intimidate and overwhelm, became a liability as Earth's smaller ships used their bulk against them. Commander, her tactical officer called out. They're adjusting their shield frequencies. Exactly as we expected, Jin-Ah replied. Implement countermeasure beta. Dr. Kim's calculations should hold true. Earth's defense platforms shifted their attack patterns, matching the new Imperial frequencies. Where the Empire expected to gain an advantage, they found their shields even more vulnerable to Earth's adaptive weapons. Hours passed. The Imperial fleet's confident advance had turned into a chaotic struggle. Their mighty ships, now scattered and disorganized, fired desperately at targets they couldn't catch. The space around Earth became a graveyard of Imperial technology, burning hulks of their finest vessels drifting in orbit. Imperial command ship is signaling retreat, the communications officer announced, disbelief evident in his voice. They're running away. The command center erupted in cheers, but Jin-Ah remained focused. Maintain battle stations. Make sure they're really leaving. Document everything. We need to study their tactics for next time. As the Imperial fleet limped away from Earth, leaving behind the wreckage of their defeat, Jin-Ah finally allowed herself to relax slightly. They had won this battle, but the war was far from over. Send word to all stations, she ordered. Congratulate every fighter, every technician, every person who made this victory possible. But remind them, this was only the first wave. The Empire won't take this defeat lightly. From her command position, Jin-Ah watched the last Imperial ships disappear into the darkness of space. Earth had bloodied the Empire's nose today, shown them that humanity wouldn't be an easy conquest. But she knew that somewhere out there, the Empire was already planning their next attack. Begin repair operations, she commanded. Check every system, replenish every weapon. We've won ourselves some time. Let's make the most of it. The battle was over, but as Jin-Ah looked at the floating debris of Imperial ships, monuments to humanity's first victory against the galaxy's greatest power, she knew that this was just the beginning. Earth had proved itself a deadly opponent, but the Empire would return, stronger and more prepared. And when they did, humanity would be ready again. The soft glow of multiple screens illuminated Minho Yun's face as his fingers danced across the holographic keyboard. Around him, in the underground cyber command center beneath Seoul, dozens of the world's best hackers worked in focused silence. Their target, the vast network of Imperial data streams that flowed between stars. I found something, Minho announced, his eyes fixed on a stream of alien code. Their encryption isn't as complex as we thought. They've been using the same basic patterns for centuries. They never expected anyone to challenge them. The Imperial networks had seemed impenetrable at first, but after studying the communications from their first failed invasion, Minho's team had discovered a pattern. The Empire's greatest weakness was their arrogance. They hadn't updated their security in generations. Analyst Yuna Park leaned over his shoulder, her expression intense. "Can you get us in?" "Already there," Minho replied, a small smile playing on his lips. "And you won't believe what I'm seeing." The data flowing across his screens told a story the Empire had tried to bury. Records of conquered worlds, of species forced into submission, of cultures erased and replaced with imperial civilization. But more importantly, he found something they hadn't expected: resistance. "Look at this," he pointed to an encrypted channel. "There are others out there fighting them. Small groups, hidden colonies, entire worlds waiting for a chance to break free." Yuna's eyes widened as she processed the implications. "We need to contact them. Show them they're not alone." The next few weeks became a blur of activity. While the Empire filled the galaxy's communications with propaganda about Earth's savage and primitive defiance, Minho's team worked to spread a different message. They leaked proof of imperial atrocities, evidence of corruption, and stories of resistance. "They're calling us barbarians," Yuna said during one of their strategy meetings. "Let's show the galaxy who the real barbarians are." Through secure channels they discovered, they made contact with other resistances, a refugee colony of silicon-based beings hiding in an asteroid belt, a water world that had maintained a secret army beneath its oceans, a space-faring species that had escaped imperial control by mimicking space debris. "Your victory has given us hope," one resistance leader transmitted. "If Earth can stand against them, perhaps we can too." Yuna coordinated these growing connections, careful to protect their new allies' identities. Each group had its own story, its own reasons for fighting. Earth became not just a symbol of defiance, but a hub for sharing information and strategies. Minho's greatest breakthrough came when he cracked the Imperial military networks. "They're stretched thin," he reported. "They've had to pull ships from other sectors to prepare for another attack on Earth. Their subject worlds are barely guarded." The implications were clear. While the Empire prepared to crush Earth, they were leaving their flanks exposed. Yuna worked tirelessly to coordinate with their new allies, planning simultaneous acts of rebellion across multiple systems. "We don't need to defeat them everywhere," she explained to Earth's Defense Council. "We just need to keep them off balance, make them fight on too many fronts at once." The Empire's response was predictable: more propaganda, more threats. But now, thanks to Minho's team, their broadcasts were being intercepted and revealed as lies. Every imperial message of strength was answered with proof of their weaknesses. "They're starting to panic," Minho observed, watching the increased encryption attempts in imperial communications. "They've never dealt with anything like this before. They can't understand how primitives could challenge them this way." The information war expanded beyond mere data. Earth began broadcasting its own messages to the galaxy, stories of human history, of overthrown tyrants, of small forces defeating empires. They shared their music, their art, their dreams of freedom. "We're not just fighting their military," Yuna realized. "We're fighting their entire worldview. They believe their dominance is natural, inevitable. We're showing the galaxy that it's not." The effects rippled through the Empire like cracks in a dam. Minor rebellions broke out on dozens of worlds. Imperial supply lines were disrupted by mysterious accidents. Servant species began questioning orders. The Empire found itself fighting shadows, not just humans, but an idea they couldn't destroy. "Their whole system is based on control," Minho said, watching the chaos spread across his monitors. "But they can't control an idea. They can't stop people from hoping for something better." In the depths of their cyber command center, Minho and Yuna continued their work. Every leaked document, every connected resistance cell, every shared story of defiance was another crack in the Empire's foundation. They weren't just preparing for the next battle. They were changing the very nature of the war. The Empire thought they could isolate us, Yuna said, looking at a map showing their growing network of allies. Instead, we've united half the galaxy against them. As reports of new rebellions flooded in, Minho couldn't help but smile. The Empire had expected to fight a primitive planet. Instead, they had awakened something far more dangerous, the universal desire for freedom. And that was a force no empire, no matter how ancient or powerful, could ever fully suppress. The stars vanished first. One by one, they winked out as the Imperial Armada approached Earth, their massive ships blotting out the light of distant suns. Admiral Hei-Yun Lee stood on the bridge of the EDS Defiant, humanity's first true capital ship, watching the enemy fleet materialize from hyperspace. Count confirmed, her tactical officer reported, voice tight with tension. Over 2,000 capital ships, with support vessels still arriving. It's the largest fleet ever recorded in Imperial history. Hei-Yun's expression remained calm, though her hands tightened slightly on the command rail. This was what they had prepared for, what Earth had known was coming since their first victory. The Empire had stripped its territories bare, gathering every available ship for this assault. Status of the quantum disruption field, she asked, eyes fixed on the approaching Armada. Engineer Du Yun Choi's voice came through the command channel. Field generators are ready, Admiral, but we've never tested them against a force this size. The calculations suggest it will work, but we're about to find out for sure, Hei-Yun finished. Sometimes faith in human ingenuity is all we have. Begin the deployment sequence. The Defiant hummed beneath her feet as Du Yun's latest creation powered up. The quantum disruption field was a desperate gamble, a weapon designed to turn the Empire's own technology against them by disrupting the quantum fields their ships relied on. Imperial Command is broadcasting, communications announced. They're demanding our immediate surrender. Hei-Yun smiled slightly. Send them our standard response. The response was simple, a single image of humanity's first message to the stars, showing Earth's determination to remain free. The Empire's answer came in the form of energy weapons powerful enough to shatter moons. Disruption field activated, Du Yun shouted as the first wave of Imperial fire approached. All ships maintained formation. The effect was immediate and spectacular. The Imperial weapons, instead of striking their targets, began to behave erratically. Energy beams twisted in impossible ways, shield harmonics collapsed, and targeting systems went haywire. It's working. Du Yun's voice was filled with disbelief and joy. Their quantum fields are destabilizing exactly as predicted. Hei-Yun didn't waste the advantage. All ships, execute attack pattern Delta. Target their command and control nodes first. Don't let them adapt. Earth's fleet moved with practiced precision. Months of preparation had taught them how to fight as one, using their smaller numbers to maximum effect. The Imperial ships, their technology suddenly unreliable, struggled to coordinate their responses. Admiral, her tactical officer called out, we're receiving reports from across the galaxy. Other worlds are rising up. The Empire's reduced defenses in other sectors. They're taking advantage of the opportunity. Hei-Yun nodded, just as we hoped they would. The battle spread across the solar system. Imperial ships, their formations broken, found themselves hunted by Earth's more agile vessels. The quantum disruption field forced them to fight without their technological advantages, reducing the mighty Imperial fleet to a disorganized mass. They're trying to regroup near Jupiter, reported her wing commander. Should we pursue? No, Hei-Yun decided. Let them taste the fear of retreat. Show them what it means to face an enemy they can't simply overwhelm. Reports continued to flood in from across the galaxy. A water world had destroyed its Imperial garrison. A silicon-based species had reclaimed their ancestral asteroids. A dozen other worlds had risen in open rebellion, inspired by Earth's example. The Empire's communications are in chaos, her intelligence officer reported. They're receiving distress calls from multiple sectors, but they can't respond without weakening their position here. Hayem watched as another Imperial dreadnought succumbed to the quantum disruption field, its systems failing catastrophically. The Empire had come to crush Earth once and for all, but in doing so, they had exposed themselves to threats from all sides. Du Yun, she called through the command channel. How long can we maintain the disruption field? As long as we need to, Admiral, the engineer replied confidently. They can't adapt to something that uses their own technology against them. Every attempt they make to counter it just makes the effect stronger. The battle raged for hours. Imperial ships, their proud technological superiority rendered useless, either retreated in disarray or fell to Earth's coordinated attacks. The mighty armada that had arrived to darken Earth's skies was being torn apart, not just by human weapons, but by human ingenuity. Admiral, her communications officer interrupted. We're receiving new transmissions. Other resistance forces are arriving to join the fight. They're asking to coordinate with our fleet. He Yun felt a surge of pride. Earth wasn't just defending itself anymore. It had become a beacon of hope for every species that had suffered under Imperial rule. Their defiance had sparked something that couldn't be stopped by force alone. Send them our tactical frequencies, she ordered. Let's show the Empire what happens when they unite the galaxy against them. As the battle entered its final phases, He Yunli stood on her bridge, watching history unfold. The Empire had come with their greatest fleet, expecting to crush a single defiant world. Instead, they had triggered an uprising that would reshape the galaxy. The stars were becoming visible again as the Imperial ships retreated or fell. Each point of light seemed brighter now, as if reflecting the hope that Earth had given to countless worlds. The Empire's greatest show of force had become their greatest vulnerability, and the galaxy would never be the same. The Imperial fleet emerged from hyperspace like an angry storm, their weapons already firing before their ships fully materialized. General Ta Hyun Choi watched from the orbital command center as space itself seemed to burn with the intensity of their assault. This wasn't just another attack. This was the Empire's last desperate attempt to prove their supremacy. All defense grids to maximum power, he ordered, his voice steady despite the chaos unfolding before him. They're throwing everything they have at us. Show them everything we've got in return. The Empire had abandoned all pretense of strategy. Their ships charged forward in waves, sacrificing themselves by the dozens just to overwhelm Earth's defenses. The planetary shield flickered under the onslaught, its iridescent surface rippling like water in a storm. Shield integrity at 60% and falling. A technician called out. They're hitting us harder than ever before. In her laboratory beneath Mount Fuji, Dr. Ji Woo Kim's fingers flew across her control panel. The quantum cascade device, her latest and most dangerous creation, hummed with barely contained power. She had hoped they would never need to use it, but the Empire had left them no choice. General, she communicated to Ta Hyun, the device is ready. But you should know, once we activate it, there's no stopping the cascade effect. It will destroy their entire command and control network. Ta Hyun watched another section of Earth's defenses strain under the Imperial assault. Do we have any other choice? No, Ji Woo replied softly. But this will change everything. The Empire's entire communication network will collapse. Thousands of ships, not just here, but across the galaxy, will be left blind and powerless. Around Earth, the battle reached new levels of intensity. Imperial ships rammed themselves into defense platforms, their captains willing to die just to create gaps in Earth's shield coverage. Human fighters darted between the massive enemy vessels, trying desperately to protect their world's defenses. Implement Strategy Omega, Ta Hyun commanded. Let's show them why they should have feared human innovation from the start. Earth's defensive formations shifted, adapting in ways the Empire's rigid tactical doctrine couldn't comprehend. Where they expected resistance, they found empty space. Where they thought they saw weakness, they encountered devastating traps. Their formations are breaking up, Ta Hyun's tactical officer reported. They're losing coordination. This is our chance. Dr. Kim, Ta-hyun called. Activate the device. Now, in her underground lab, Ji-woo took a deep breath and pressed her hand against the activation panel. The quantum cascade device pulsed once, twice, and then released a wave of energy that was invisible to the human eye, but devastating to Imperial technology. The effect spread through space like ripples in a pond. Imperial ships, suddenly cut off from their network, began to drift aimlessly. Their weapons fell silent. Their shields flickered and died. Their engines sputtered into darkness. What did you do to us? The Imperial commander's voice crackled through failing communication systems. This is impossible. No, Ta-hyun responded calmly. This is humanity showing you what true advancement looks like. Not blind reliance on ancient technology, but the ability to adapt and evolve. Across the solar system, Imperial ships floated helplessly in space. Their mighty fleet, which had arrived with such overwhelming force, now drifted like dead leaves in a cosmic wind. The silence that followed was almost deafening after the chaos of battle. Begin rescue operations, Ta-hyun ordered. Retrieve their crews before their life support fails. Show them that humanity knows not just how to fight, but also how to show mercy. As Earth's ships moved to save their defeated enemies, reports began arriving from across the galaxy. The quantum cascade had spread through the Empire's entire network, affecting every ship, every base, every installation that relied on their ancient technology. In her lab, Ji-woo watched the data stream in with a mixture of awe and concern. We didn't just defeat their fleet, she realized. We've brought down their entire technological infrastructure. And in doing so, Ta-hyun replied, we've given the galaxy its freedom back. The Empire can never recover from this. Their age of dominance is over. The rescue operations continued through the night, Earth's ships gathering the survivors of the once mighty Imperial fleet. Each rescued crew member saw firsthand the truth their empire had denied. That humanity's strength lay not in overwhelming force, but in innovation, adaptation, and even compassion. Victory had come not with a triumphant explosion or a glorious last battle, but with the quiet drift of powerless ships and the gentle work of rescue teams. The Empire's final assault had become their final defeat, and the galaxy would never be the same. As the sun rose over Earth the next morning, Ta-hyun and Ji-woo stood together, watching the cleanup operations through the command center's windows. The Empire's ships, once so threatening, now looked small and fragile against the backdrop of space. What happens now? Ji-woo asked quietly. Now, Ta-hyun replied, we help rebuild, not just Earth, but every world that wants to stand on its own. The Empire thought they were coming to end humanity's defiance. Instead, they witnessed the beginning of a new age, one where every species has the right to choose its own path. The stars seemed brighter that morning, as if celebrating humanity's victory. But it wasn't just humanity's victory anymore. It belonged to every being who had ever dreamed of freedom from imperial rule. The breaking point had come, and with it, the dawn of a new era in galactic history. The grand chamber of the Galactic Council sparkled with light reflecting off crystalline walls. Ta-min Park adjusted his formal uniform as he faced the same imperial representatives who had once threatened Earth with destruction. Their multifaceted eyes no longer held contempt, but a wary respect. The terms are non-negotiable, Ta-min stated, his voice carrying across the chamber. Earth will not accept anything less than full recognition of our independence and the right of all worlds to determine their own fate. The imperial delegates shifted uncomfortably. Their once mighty empire had crumbled not through military defeat alone, but through the spread of an idea, the possibility of freedom. Dozens of formerly subjugated species filled the chamber's observation galleries, watching as history unfolded. From her position near the chamber's entrance, Admiral Hae-yun Lee observed the proceedings with quiet satisfaction. The Empire's representative spoke, their voice lacking its former arrogance. You must understand the chaos this will cause. Centuries of order, disrupted. Order? Ta Min's voice remained calm but firm. You mean oppression. The galaxy doesn't need an empire to maintain order. We propose something better. The Free Worlds Alliance. A coalition of equals, where every species has a voice. The chamber erupted in murmurs as holographic displays showed the proposed structure of this new alliance. Trade routes, cultural exchanges, mutual defense pacts, all built on cooperation rather than domination. Already 37 former imperial worlds have pledged to join, Ta Min continued. Not because they were conquered or coerced, but because they choose to stand together as equals. Yun watched the imperial delegates closely. She had faced their fleets in battle, had seen their mighty ships reduced to drifting hulks by human ingenuity. Now she saw something else in their posture. Acceptance of the inevitable. The Empire's choice is simple, Ta Min declared. Adapt to this new reality or face continued decline. Join us as equals, or watch as the galaxy unites without you. The leader of the Imperial delegation stood slowly. You speak of choice, yet you leave us none. We learned that from you. Yun spoke up, stepping forward. The difference is, we offer you a future. Not as rulers, but as partners. The negotiations continued through the day, but the outcome was never in doubt. One by one, the Empire's representatives signed the accords that would forever change the galaxy's power structure. As the formal proceedings concluded, Yun approached Ta Min. Did you ever imagine, when they first arrived at Earth, that it would end like this? Ta Min smiled slightly. Not an ending, a beginning. Look at them all. He gestured to the various species mingling in the chamber, former enemies becoming allies, learning from each other. We didn't just defeat an empire, we're building something new. Reports were already coming in from across the galaxy. Former imperial worlds were holding their first free elections. Trade routes were being re-established without imperial oversight. Cultural exchanges were flourishing as species long kept apart began sharing their knowledge and art. Earth's fleet will have a new role, Yun mused. Not conquering or controlling, but protecting. Ensuring every world has the chance to grow at its own pace. The Earth delegation moved through the chamber, greeting representatives from worlds they had helped liberate. Many shared stories of how Earth's resistance had inspired their own people to rise up, to imagine a different future. We're receiving requests from dozens of worlds, and aid reported to Ta Min. They want to learn from us, not just our technology, but our history, how we maintained our unity and culture despite our differences. Share everything, Ta Min replied. Our successes and our failures. Let them learn from all of it. As the day drew to a close, the chamber began to empty. The imperial delegates departed, their once proud robes seeming somehow less magnificent. In their place, representatives of the new Free Worlds Alliance remained, already beginning the work of building their new order. Yun stood at a viewport, watching ships of various designs move peacefully through space. The Empire thought we were their worst nightmare because we resisted them. But that wasn't it at all, was it? No, Ta Min agreed, joining her. We were their worst nightmare because we showed the galaxy a better way. Because we proved that freedom and cooperation are stronger than fear and control. The stars shone brightly beyond the viewport, each one now representing not a target for conquest, but a potential partner in the galaxy's future. Humanity had taken its first steps into this larger community, not as conquerors or subjects, but as equals who had earned their place among the stars. As night fell on this historic day, Ta Min and Yun shared a quiet moment, remembering the long journey from that first imperial ultimatum to this new beginning. The galaxy was changing, and humanity had lit the spark that started it all. So, Yun said softly, "What's our next challenge?" Ta Min laughed. "Learning to live in peace, probably. Though knowing humanity, we'll find plenty of adventures along the way." The future stretched out before them, full of possibilities. The nightmare was over, not just for Earth, but for every world that had lived under imperial rule. In its place, a new dream was taking shape, one of freedom, cooperation, and endless possibilities among the stars.